Well, good morning. This is Jim Moore, and you are watching not words of encouragement, although I hope these words are encouraging. You are watching the program Justice for America, and we are going to be talking about a number of things that are happening today, and we are live right now. You may not be watching this live, but we are live, so feel free to come on, say hello. I've already done that a little bit in the intro there, saying hello to some of friends and family. There's a lot going on in the world right now that I just want to talk to you about, and might be a few days off. Looks like that's Leanne. God bless you. And if I miss your name, I apologize. It's not intentional. All right, but I do want to jump right into it because I got a lot to do, and we're moving. So enough said. All right, so this is Monday, May 20th, 2024. This is episode number 91. We're going to talk about the Iranian president who was just, I was going to say killed, but he just died yesterday. We'll get into that a little bit. It's a very big deal that's happening right now. I'm going to show you a clip about a group of people who want to bring a coup. That's all I'm going to say, the Donald Trump coup. Okay, we'll get into it. You got to hang in there, and we'll cover at least these three things. They're in the title, and if we have a chance, get to all the rest of them. And then the last one is what I titled Defiant, Harrison Butker. Now, some of you know him from the NFL, the people that are into NFL. Okay, I'm not. So there we go. So don't you judge me. All right, so before we get going, please like and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble or some other channel, like and subscribe, and then hit the notification bell. And then when you're all done watching, if this helped you, if this was like, hey, that was good, then share it with somebody else. And also, as long as you're watching, comment. Even if you're not watching live, say stuff, okay? I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's true. We're being warred against as far as the algorithms. We've been shadow banned and so on and so on. So you can help that by simply commenting as you're going along, and then subscribing, liking, and sharing. Commenting and sharing are the two biggest things. All right, so let's just jump right into this. Many of you might have seen the news that happened just yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, where what do I say about this guy? Well, let me start out by saying this. We are living in the days that Christ warned us about. Okay? We are the generation that I'm a Bible guy. This is a Bible thing. I'm not going to apologize for that. We are the generation, in my opinion, that have been chosen to live. Well, this is not even my opinion. We have been chosen to live in these days. Whether these days are the end of days or not, nobody knows 100% for sure, but it sure looks like it. In my opinion, they are. But whatever your belief system is about the coming of the Lord and all that, we know that we're here now because God wants us here. You were not an accident, okay? You were put in this time. You might wish you were born in the wild, wild west days or in the Viking. It doesn't matter. You're born now. God put you here. All right. So we've been chosen. I'm going to ask you the question, who will be unafraid to speak up and to say what needs to be said? Will you? You've been chosen to live in this generation. I don't want to get preachy, but you who are listening right now, God chose you to live in this generation, and not to be a wallflower, not to just be silent, not to be cowering in fear in the corner. He wants you to speak up in whatever way he shows you. So, all right, the butcher of Tehran. Now, I vaguely remember hearing this phrase, the butcher of Tehran. I'm not going to try to go deep into history because I've given you a couple links to look at, and I'm going to show you a clip here in just a minute. But the butcher of Tehran in Iran, okay, he is second in command. Not the supreme leader of Iran, that is the Ayatollah Khomeini. And in case you didn't know, Iran is probably it is the biggest terror state in the world, in my understanding. Okay, some of you might disagree. It may or may not be the most dangerous, okay? Most of the countries have nuclear weapons, North Korea, Russia, China, blah, blah, blah. But I believe the number one purveyor of terrorism, they are a terror country. Excuse me, some people call it a terror state, okay? Their leaders are pro-terrorism. no matter how you paint it, no matter how you look at it, they are pro-terrorism. All right? That is a fact. All right? All you got to do is look a little bit. So it's a really big deal. So you got the Ayatollah, I got to slow down. The Ayatollah Khomeini is the supreme leader. Second in command, I forgot to write down his name, is the president of Iran. And he was killed yesterday. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, number one, because he was and is and has been called the butcher of Tehran. Listen now, again, I'm giving you facts, not opinions. The facts are he executed, numbers vary, somewhere between 5 and 10,000 of his own people. This man was a monster, is a monster, because he's alive in eternity. Okay? We must never forget that. The butcher of Tehran was given that name because he butchered his own people. Now, contrast that to, say, Donald Trump. Okay? I'm not like beating the Donald Trump drum. That's not, we'll get to a little bit of him in a minute. But, you know, people love to throw the Nazi for, oh, he's a Nazi. This person's a Nazi. Jim's a Nazi. You're a Nazi. We're all, you know, it's so dumb. People, you know, gosh, it's just, you know, how do you even have a conversation with people like that? But anyway, this guy really was like Adolf Hitler. He killed his own people who disagreed with him. Now, you know, so far, the other, you know, Donald Trump, I'm not aware of him killing anybody. I'm just saying, this is reality. This man, pro-terrorism and so on and so on. All right, watch the video, okay? So much of what responsible for the November 7th attack, responsible for killing his own people, has been firing missiles almost on a daily basis for years over. And most people who look at the Israel-Gaza scenario, they have no idea what they're talking about. They have no idea that Israel has been subjected to missiles being fired at them almost on a daily basis for, I don't even know, decades. I don't even know how long. It's a daily fact of life. Bombs blowing up buses, the terrorism that has been perpetrated on the land of Israel has been unlike any other nation ever, as far as on an ongoing basis, maybe not numerically, but so on and so on. So this guy right here, hugely responsible for that. Now, there's some people that are celebrating. The first video I have, and again, this is how I do this, you guys. I don't have time to show you clips of everything. So I put down, if you don't watch these, I put all of these links to these videos in the description box. They'll be on Facebook, they'll be on Rumble, they'll be on YouTube. You should take the time. Some of you might have to cut and paste them into your browser. I don't know why it works for some and not for others. That's not, I'm not, a geek. Okay. Hey, Randy, God bless you. So anyway, take the time to look them up. Number one here is, this is a, I think it's a British thing, and they just give a real quick overview of this, and they're pretty harsh on this guy, but he deserves it, really. He deserves, this is the reputation that he's had. You need to understand, much of what's happened in the realm of terrorism has happened through this man. Okay, that's the most I need to say about that. All right, so let's move on. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Just know that it's important. There are people that are saying Israel killed him, United States. There's going to be all kinds of theories, but it looks like it was actually, at this point, we don't know 100%, just a simple helicopter crash. Might have been more than that. But this signifies a regime change. Okay, now just get the big picture. The world is on fire right now, and it's always been so in the Middle East to one degree or another. But what's happening now, escalating because everybody's got nuclear weapons, is a really big deal. Okay, so this could signal a shift for good, which I, not to be a Debbie Downer, highly doubt is going to happen. Because they will likely, see what has happened is throughout the years, the constant sowing of vitriol and hatred for the Jews and for America and anybody that disagrees with Tehran and with Iran, Tehran's a city in Iran, has gotten into the people. If you don't think it has, you're sadly mistaken. It has gotten into the people. The state religion is Islam, so it's gotten into Islam, at least there. Okay, it's a big deal that the second in command has suddenly died. Okay, could signify a significant shift in what happens over there that is going to affect eventually, according to the scriptures, the entire globe. It's already doing that, but it is going to escalate. It's time to get right with God. Okay, if you're not, it's time to get right with God. All right, so let me show you the first clip, and you're going to want to see this. I often forget to write down the name of these guys, and I'm sorry. But this is a group of senators that are coming out and saying, we're not going to put up with this nonsense anymore. If you are an American citizen and you want to shout death to the Jews and wipe out from the river to the sea a whole nation of people, and you want to provoke genocide because it's the cool thing. A lot of this is dumb kids. Honestly, it really is. A lot of it is. Not all of it. A lot of it is agitators. We've let them into the country. They're now agitating our young people. Anyway, they're coming out, and again, even if you watch the first few minutes of it, it's worth your time. So I'm going to show you this clip, and let's see how I'm going to do this, because normally I'm recording and not doing this live. So I'm going to show you the clip. I'm going to give a little pause so that my guy can cut in and show the clip. So you guys who are watching live will not be able to see this clip, but just give me a few seconds here. Let's go to clip number 1.
We're here to discuss the little Gazas that have risen up on campuses across America and the liberal college administrators and politicians who refuse to restore law and order and to protect other students. These little Gazas are disgusting cesspools of anti-Semitic hate, full of pro-Hamas sympathizers, fanatics, and freaks. Here's just a sampling of what these lunatics were saying just days after Hamas's atrocity against Israel. A Cornell professor called the October 7th attack exhilarating. A Columbia professor called it awesome. A Yale professor called it an extraordinary day. More than 30 Harvard students signed a letter claiming that Israel was, quote, entirely responsible for the attack. A pro-Hamas student group at University of Virginia called Hamas terrorists Palestinian resistance fighters. And remember, this was all before Israel had seriously retaliated. The terrorist sympathizers in these little Gazas aren't peacefully protesting Israel's conduct of the war. They're violently and illegally demanding death for Israel, just like their ideological twins, the Ayatollahs in Iran. Just look at what's going on in these little Gazas. These criminals are chanting eliminationist slogans like, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, and globalize the Intifada. At Stanford, they wore Hamas headbands. At Princeton, they flew the Hezbollah flag. At Harvard, they ripped down the Stars and Stripe and replaced it with the Palestinian flag. At George Washington University, they called for the final solution and posted signs saying they wouldn't leave until Jews go back to their real homes.
All right, we're back. So that clip showed some senators, representatives of the country saying, we're not going to let this happen anymore, and they're right. Okay, leadership matters. We're seeing that right now. What's happening in the Middle East is a consequence of evil leadership. God has much to say about this in the Old and the New Testament. We're actually commanded to pray for our leaders in the New Testament. So please don't ride me and tell me it's an Old Testament thing. If you believe that, you're the one that's mistaken, not me, because it says in the New Testament we're supposed to pray for all of our leaders so that we may lead a godly and a peaceable life. That's the opposite of what's happening over there, and frankly what's happening in our country right now, because we are subject to poor leadership as well. All right, so let's go on to the next. There's another one that has to do with that. I'll let you go to that. And then CBN also did a short thing about that. I'll let you look at that. Now let's go to Donald Trump. Now, this has been said so many times, I almost feel like it's ridiculous that we have to keep saying it. I don't care what you think about Donald Trump as a person. Now, it is important to have godly leadership. That's the ultimate. Sometimes we get leadership that is not necessarily godly in the purest sense. In other words, they may have a moral compass and so on, but I'm a Christian. Most of the people that watch this program are Christians. We may not think that that person is a Christian. Sometimes they come into office and become one because the weight of the responsibility gets to them, and finally they realize they need God. So I'm not saying he is, I'm not saying he isn't. I don't really care to enter into that debate, but I will say this. I believe the policies of Donald Trump were mostly good for this country. And the hatred that is towards this man for lack of legitimacy is, in my opinion, can be nothing less than supernatural. It's the same way with the Jewish nation. It is supernatural. Anti-Semitism, there is racism, there is hatred of ethnicities all over the planet. There is nothing that compares to the anti-Semitic hatred and racism that has been towards the Jews. And that's because of what the scripture says, and that's because God says, hey, I've decided whether you like it or not, I'm going to have a chosen people. I'm going to do it for a reason. It's a very, very specific reason. It's not because they're better than anybody else. God says, I'm going to do it. And it's because of that the devil hates them. Because if the enemy can disannul the promises God made over Israel, then it's like people will go, well, man, if he can't keep his promises to them, he won't keep his promises to Christians or anybody else on the planet. Okay, so that's why Satan hates the Jewish race. That's what's behind the anti-Semitism and so on. So I'm just saying, let's use our brains, all right? Okay, the unreasonable hatred towards this man, Donald Trump, is not because he is an angel sent down from heaven. Okay, there's some people that believe that, and they've gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. They see him as a Messiah. Let me tell you something. I don't care who the politician is. Nobody can save this country but Jesus. You can change laws, and you can demand that people do not do bad things, and you can throw people in jail if they do bad things. That's the whole idea of the law. Keeping people from doing things that hurt other people. That's the reason for the law. You can make those laws. You can have a really good president come in and make really good laws. And we want that. We 100% want that. But that doesn't save men's souls. Let me give you a phrase. Write it down. Write it down. Put it on your refrigerator to kind of keep you mindful of this truth. You can change culture without saving souls. But you cannot save souls without changing culture. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time. It's a Jimism. Okay, I'm sure I didn't make up the truth, but you need to hear what I'm saying. If you're a believer, if you're not, whatever, but if you're a believer in Jesus, you need to hear this. What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? God says the soul is the most important thing. You can force people to have a higher level of morality. And we've seen that throughout the generations where governments have been run by good people. And so people are followers. They really are. Okay? Sometimes they're bad. They're lemmings. Other times they're sheep, coming after the good shepherd. But people are influenceable. And so leadership matters because it influences people. I don't know why this is so hard to understand. Say good leadership will, Abraham Lincoln, okay, let's just pick one, will influence people for good. Bad leadership, like, Adolf Hitler, can lead a whole nation down a bad path because people are influenceable. Are you getting what I'm saying? Let me say my phrase one more time and I'll move on. You can change the culture. That means all the laws and things that are respectable and tolerated and so on. You can change the culture and not save human souls. Not get people to heaven or keep them out of hell. You can change the culture and that won't necessarily save a soul. You may inhibit people's behavior, but it won't necessarily lead them to the Lord. We want a good culture. You can change the culture and not save souls, but you cannot save souls without changing the culture. You get a whole bunch of people saved and the culture, I promise you, will change. Absolutely. We're not just talking about a moral code. We're talking about new life. All right, so said all that to say, I'm going to go to another clip. Now, this one is a must watch, okay? Not only watch the clip, but you need to watch the link I put in the description box wherever you're watching this, okay? This is Tucker Carlson. I don't care what you think about him. What I care about is truth. Are people telling the truth? Are they exposing darkness? So on and so on and so on. I don't know his personal life. I don't really care. What I care about what's coming out of his mouth. I mean, I care. I want to, people to be good. But you get what I'm saying. We're looking for truth tellers. All right. So Tucker is interviewing a man. Again, many of the people that he interviews are people that really are in the know. And they're people that are watching the decline and the destruction and the decimation of this country and are freaking out and saying, oh my God. You see, it's really easy to just go, oh, they're just all about their political power. There are lots of people. They just want to win. Are you getting that? Democrat, Republican, Independent, Green Party, Tea Party, Princess Tea Party. Well, they just want to win. They just want to be about, there's absolutely a lot of people like that. But then there are also people who are saying, oh my gosh, they're looking down the road and saying, we're going to lose everything. For real. Okay? So, that's what I'm going to say. The person that he's interviewing is talking about something called the the transition, I'm reading it, the Transition Integrity Project. You've probably never heard of that. Rather than me go into it and try to give you all the nuances of it, I will say very simply, these individuals in very high positions of power were committed to taking the former president, Donald Trump, out of office after he was, you talk about, I'm not even going to use the words, but trying to overthrow, maybe I will. You talk about election deniers. You talk about people that were trying to overthrow an election. This group of very legitimate, powerful people, part of their plan, they said, if he does get elected, it's back in 2020, so we got to figure out a way to forcefully, by force, take him out of office. This is a stunning interview, and it's not that long, okay? Now, you say, well, that was back then. They're still doing it. They have come out and actually invited the press to hear their statement that if he gets elected, it will automatically be illegitimate, and we have to take him. We're going to use the law. You've heard the phrase recently, lawfare. It's like warfare, but it's warfare using the law. So it's a new word, lawfare, okay? So let's go to this clip. It's about 3 minutes long. You're going to want to pay close attention, hone in on what he's saying, and listen to it. Let's go to clip number 2.
The Transition Integrity Project, what was and is it, and why does it matter?
It's the opposite of what it says it is.
Of course. Yeah, of course. It's not here to bring integrity to political transitions?
Maybe to their own, fundamentally transforming the country, but no.
Yes.
So whenever you hear these words, they're the opposite of what they mean.
Yes.
For these guys. It was to determine in 2020 that the transition from a Trump administration would be nice and orderly.
Right.
And if it wasn't orderly, the military should intervene to remove Donald Trump.
Okay. So it was calling for a military coup.
Right. And the head of the project, the co-founder of the project, Rosa Brooks, had actually called for reconsidering and getting rid of civilian control of the military back in 2016.
So if this is maybe a side road, but I think it's important, if the military is not controlled by elected officials, as it would be in a democracy, who would make decisions about military force?
They're not clear about that.
Oh, they're not clear about that.
This is banana republic stuff.
Well, of course, by definition.
Yeah, in the name of protecting our Constitution.
Yeah, military junta to save democracy. So Rosa Brooks has called for that.
Yeah.
So
and even when Trump was elected or inaugurated 2 weeks later, she wrote that we have to find a way to remove him from power.
So would you say, just so we can define terms at the outset, that anyone who calls for a military coup against an elected official is by definition an enemy of democracy?
Public enemy.
Yeah, right. So that, of course, didn't happen because, in my view, I think it's been demonstrated factually, they rigged the election and Joe Biden became the president. So did the transition integrity project continue?
Well, they did the first part in semi-secrecy.
Yes.
This time, they're being more open about it. They're inviting reporters to their war games.
So same group.
It seems to be they're not fully forthright about who the members are.
Right.
And they weren't at all in 2020. But now you've got retired generals.
So what would be the point of this?
To make sure that their transition has integrity, meaning that even according to their latest war games, if Donald Trump wins a free and fair election, he still has to be removed.
So if you have people, again, just a definition of terms, if you have people who are calling for the removal by force of an elected official, that is insurrection, right?
It's legal insurrection because they're doing this now through lawfare.
Right.
They're doing it through Georgetown University Law Center.
All right. Thanks for watching that. Again, those of you who are live, I don't have the technical capacity to actually show you that clip. You're going to have to go to like YouTube or Rumble and watch it. One day we'll have that. I apologize for that. But you go to the link and watch it. It is absolutely stunning that there are people in high power who say we will pretty much go to any degree. So let's say, I just want to be practical here. Let's say Donald J. Trump does get elected in the next however many months. You think that doesn't matter? It does matter. That group of people who are very well connected and have a vast amount of people that are behind them are saying pretty much whatever it takes, it will automatically be illegitimate because of what happened on January 6th. Okay. All right, let's go on. I'm going to have to wrap it up here pretty quick. There is a video right after that, a link about a woman. She is part of the Republican Party, I believe, talking about the SAVE Act. It is an act to try to remove proof of citizenship to vote. One of the most fundamental things that any person who's not a complete, I don't even know what to say. I shouldn't say idiot, but I'm going to say it. You cannot prove that you're not a U.S. citizen. You don't have the right to vote. Period. The end. All right. So watch that one. It's good. Now, so that's number one and number two. So we've talked about the butcher of Tehran who died in a helicopter crash. We have talked about the possibility of a coup, literally a coup, if Donald Trump does get elected. You have to watch that. I'm telling you, you have to watch that. You may not understand it the first time, watch it a second time. So now we're on number three. Some of you have already seen this. So Harrison Butker is a kicker in the NFL. I don't even know what team he's for. I probably have it written down here. I know that's terrible. Some of you will just think I'm awful for not knowing his team. I was born without a sports gene. Please forgive me. Don't you judge me. All right. So he is a Catholic man, and he was asked to be the keynote speaker at a commencement service, a graduation service at a Catholic university. Okay? Not going to give you all the details. One of the best commencement speeches I've ever heard, ever, by anybody, bar none. Okay? He spoke up about the day we live in. I don't think he was too hard. Of course, everybody that's woke, everybody on the left, everybody who's liberal, freaked out about it. Why? Because he simply said, these things that you're saying are now the new normal are not okay. They're never going to be okay. Actually, he wasn't really speaking to them in the first place. He was speaking to the college students, okay? So it's like, shut up. I wasn't even talking to you. But anyway, that's how it goes today. And that's what I said at the beginning of the program. Who's going to be bold enough? Who's going to be smart enough? Who's going to be wise enough? Not just to talk about your favorite guy or gal, Tucker or, Q or what. No. Let's talk about issues. Let's talk about God. Let's talk about, let's point people to the truth. So who's going to be bold enough to do that? Even if they take you down, okay? So he did. And it's magnificent. You really should listen to it. It's very, very powerful. Let me see. Was that my clip? Nope, I don't have a clip for that. Okay. All right. Coming out of the end. Now we're out of those first three titles, but hang on. If you'll just give me about another 5 minutes or so, I'll be done. So some of you, again, like Ron DeSantis, some of you don't. Again, I don't really care. You know, I am done with the I like him, I don't like him game. To me, it's irrelevant. What's relevant to me is if you're telling the truth and you're doing the right thing. That's it. So DeSantis, good, bad, some good, some, who cares? All right. But I see this man leading with specificity and boldness. You say, oh, I don't really care. I don't care about politics. You should, because it affects your everyday life and it affects your loved ones. All right. So he's come out with all these mostly young people chanting death to the Jews. I mean, God, it would have been impossible to imagine this happening just a year ago. The way things are accelerating is just so phenomenal. It's just, and you know what you don't want to do? Are you listening to Papa Jim right now? You know what you don't want to do? You don't want to just become blasé to it. God help you if you just become, I don't care, you know. Me and my wife have conversations about this all the time. Neither one of us like listening to this stuff. Nobody wants to hear the bad news, and we don't want to be obsessed with it and all that. And you got to give yourself a break, and you got to look at puppy dogs and babies and sailors coming home from the military and whatever makes you smile and cry. You got to. The Bible says think on these things. But the same Bible that said think on these things also talks an awful lot about the things we're talking about right now in this program, about kings and rulers and good and bad things that we're doing. So even though it says that, what it's saying is don't obsess and get your mind so focused on evil that you forget about the good things that God's doing in the world. Again, as it always is, it's a balance. It's not one or the other. Okay, you get Jim's preaching. All right. Ron DeSantis comes on in this link, and he says, we're not going to tolerate. And this is what he does pretty consistently. Something comes up that's bad, that's immoral. He says, you know what? You have a right to be whatever you want to be, but you don't have a right, are you listening to me, to do whatever you want to do. Put that on your refrigerator. You need a refrigerator saying to put on your refrigerator? Here it is. You have a right to be who you want to be. Even God says that, okay? You'll stand before him and answer about who you want to be, okay? You're going to have to answer to him for who you want to be. You know, a woman, a man, you know, a politician, you know, a preacher. You be whatever you want to be. That's your choice. You have to stand before God one day. But you don't get to do what you want to do. Or listen to me. I said, Jim, you're getting fierce. Because it's important to make the distinction. And that's what Ron does. He says you can be whoever you want to be, but you cannot do whatever you want to do. You can't hurt people. You can't burn up their stuff. You get it? You can't stand and say and call for the death of someone. You can't do that. That's crossing the line. That's what we call good leadership. Okay? It's not that complicated. It's not rocket science. Good leadership says, go ahead. You want to be that? You be that. Okay? We're not going to tell you can't worship this God or that God. We're not going to tell you have to dress this. We're not going to tell you what you can be. And believe me, that's important. Because we're not trying to make people into what I think they ought to be or you think they ought to be. God himself doesn't even do that. He says, listen, you have a choice. Okay, if you choose right, life is going to come. If you choose wrong, choose life. Okay, but that's between them and their God. But when it comes to how your life affects other people, that's a different story. You get what I'm saying? You can be, okay, but you can't do. All right, you can protest. Okay, I'm a protester. I'm going to go out and protest. Great, awesome. Do it within the confines of the law. So that's what he's saying. And that's why I'm showing this, because he very simply does that consistently over and over and over. All right. There's another one about a man who infiltrated one of the protests. I'm not going to go into that, but it's good. It's very short. Most of these are really short. Okay, and then there's a few more. I'm almost done here. This one, I should have listed this one as a must-see, but I kind of ran out of room. So some of you know who Glenn Beck is. Again, you like him, you don't like him, who cares? All right, Glenn Beck went into a rant. Hey, Mike. Glenn Beck did a rant. Okay, and it is a full-on rant. I mean, he's angry, he's red in the face, he's throwing his papers around. It is an absolute, I am sick of stuff. Now, why would you show that, Jim? Why would you show, this man, Glenn Beck, doing a rant? Because what he's ranting about, number one, is the truth. He's ranting about the fact that the truth, what happens to when I say entire culture, I mean a good majority of the culture. What happens when a culture doesn't even care about the truth anymore? When truth can come, evidence, you're actually looking at the truth with your eyeballs and you still don't care or don't believe it. He is really frustrated. And the reason I want to show this is because I think, without, saying how he did it was right or wrong or anything like that, he's fed up. I believe this is an accurate picture of the way much of America is. Now, I'm not going to go into the difference between righteous or unrighteous anger. It's a complicated issue. People use it as an excuse to get mad when they don't have a right to. We're supposed to be acting like Jesus. Because Jesus never got mad, right? Come on. One of the big problems, again, here goes Preacher Jim again. One of the big problems I see in the world today is people don't read the Bible anymore. I see it all the time. You ask, all right, I'm not going to go down that road. You get what I'm saying, though. We need to know and live by the truth, even if it pains us, even if it means I got to change. Now, that's the bottom line. All right, so Glenn, I believe, is expressing what multitudes of Americans feel, that there is no more justice. It's not fair anymore. People are going to jail for simply, you can have one group of protesters that are destroying things and hurting people, okay? And another, here's one I'm going to show you, a lady who is just literally got put in jail for 5 years. This is a real woman, okay? Mom, kids, wife, whole thing, got thrown in jail, sorry about that, for protesting at an abortion clinic. It's true. These are not made up. And again, I get frustrated with Christians who think these issues don't matter. They do matter. They matter to God, even if they don't matter to you and I. And if it matters to God, it ought to matter to you. All right. So I've got these a little bit out of order. So I'm going to do number 3 and then number 2, and then I'll be done here. So this one, number 3, I put it down as caution, extremely graphic. It's not pictorially graphic. There's no pictures or anything like that. But the speech that the woman uses as she talks about this lovely lady, okay, getting thrown in jail for 5 years, okay? I believe she's a Christian woman. I remember my pastor telling me the day will come they'll put Christians in jail. It's happening. It's happening on your watch. And I know you don't like to hear about it, and I know it doesn't make you smile and weep like, watching baby videos, but it's still important for you to know, okay? Then you take it to God, and yeah. All right. So watch that one. It's important. Prepare your heart. Be ready, okay? Then I'm going to go back to number 2 real quick. There's some good news, all right? How many's ready for some good news? Here's the good news. When you stand and speak up like God commands you to do, things change. So mostly Christian parents in Chino, California, you got to watch this video. It's incredible. It's short. But, well, it's not actually short. It's kind of long, but you can watch. You can get the gist out of the first 5 minutes of it. So a particular church, I forget the name of the church, and a whole bunch of Christian parents said, we're not going to let the school board, the Chino school board, we're not going to let you teach our children vile, perverse, woke, racist kind of information. We're not going to let you do it anymore. And they basically made enough noise. And we're not talking about violence. We're just talking about them saying, no more, no more. We will vote you out of position. We will take our kids out of school. You will lose your funding, which hitting them in the pocketbook is always the thing that matters. Watch it. This is good news. Change can happen when righteousness prevails. When the righteous rule, You need another Bible verse, the people rejoice. Okay? Pray for those in leadership, lead a quiet and peaceable life. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people groan and mourn. It is God's will that the righteous rule. You cannot deny it. It is truth found in the Word of God. All right, so, okay, there is a couple, well, I'm just going to let you look at the other ones. I don't have time to go through them, but I did some programs about what's happening as far as terrorism in our country right now. Talked about what's happening in London. If you didn't see that program, you ought to go back and find it. It's very, very powerful. And I made mention that it was coming here. Well, here's some proof of that it actually is here. The very last video, and I'll end right here, the very last link I put on there is not a video. It is it's just a written thing. It's very short, but it's also very graphic. I debated putting it in. I almost took it out, but I felt like the Lord said, no, leave it in. They need to see that what people have allowed in another country, okay, as far as opening the door and letting every, you wouldn't do that in your own home. You wouldn't just let people off. Yeah, come on in, everybody. No, you'd vet them, okay? And countries are just big houses. They're just big homes. Anyway, really bad things. And so we have a chance to do the right thing, okay? Now, I know this is not the program, again, and I seem to be saying this a lot today, that makes you laugh and yay, okay. There's more than one side to our Christianity. There is the side. Do you know that James, I don't know if it was the Apostle James or the brother of James, do you realize, first of all, every one of the apostles were martyred for standing up? Standing up for the gospel and standing up for righteousness. James was killed because there was a pagan parade like we have, and that is, they are wicked and vile. You can't even imagine the things that happens on those parades. You can't. Okay, you don't see them on the internet unless you really want to go looking for them. I can't even go. He confronted a pagan parade, and they killed him for it. Oh, well, in his day, that was political. We preachers, and I include myself in this. I remember standing up and say, politics are dirty, which if you still haven't realized, politics means policy. Making a policy, making a law, making a rule, saying, no, you cannot kill your neighbor. No, you cannot set his house on fire. That is policy. That is rule making. Saying, oh, politics are dirty. Don't get involved. Christians aren't supposed to have anything to do with it. Oh, really? We're supposed to wash our hands of that so that the devil and his children, and Jesus called them children of the devil, I'm just saying what he said, should come in and they make the policy. I just don't understand how. Anyway, we let this happen. We preached this from our pulpits. I know you didn't, and now we're facing the consequence. Now we're trying to stand up like our forefathers in the revolutionary days and said, this thing that's happening, we have to stand up against it. Do you know the Revolutionary War was fought to a large degree because pastors stood up in the pulpit and said, this tyranny is of the devil and God expects us to overthrow it. There we go. All right, I'm done. God bless you guys. Those of you who hung out till the end, doesn't look like there was a lot. I've come to be okay with that, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. So, love you guys. This will be edited and then put on YouTube. So, and Rumble, hopefully by the end of the day or maybe by tomorrow. Again, we're awful busy right now. I sure do appreciate all you guys. You don't have to agree with everything I say. That's okay. I probably don't agree with everything you say, but we need to honor each other. At least think about each other's opinion because we all just have a part, right? We know in part. Each of us has a part to this big puzzle, and we're just trying to help each other see the light. I want to be open to something I don't see. I hope you're open to things you don't see. And remember this, God wins. And God is love, and love wins. Amen? All right, thanks, guys. Please pray for us as we're in transition again. And yeah, I rarely say this. I get in trouble for this. Some of my friends tell me I need to say this more, but we could use your help financially. Super easy to do that. All you have to do is ask. And I will send you the links and tell you, how. Sometimes I put the links in the program, sometimes I don't. So, but we could definitely use your help right now. So we do live by ministry. We live by this program. We live by donations. We live by the gospel. We've done it our entire adult life, 43 years. So anyway, we love you guys. God bless you. And that's a wrap. God bless you and have a great day. Give yourself permission to have a great day. Bye-bye.